Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Alhamdulillah. Salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I'm so glad to see you all here again tonight. For those who are returning, if this is your first time viewing our program, this is CAIR's Daily Dose conversations, community conversations, COVID-19 with CAIR. So tonight we're going to have experts to you live. And this is a program in which we're going to get together Monday through Friday. That's why we call it the Daily Dose. And we're going to talk about issues that we're all facing in our community. And we're going to bring you experts. We're going to bring you spiritual counselors, medical experts, lawyers, and we're going to explore a variety of issues that are really pertinent to the Muslim community right now, and actually, the entire United States. And we encourage you to connect with us, send us your questions. We want to use this time, even though we're all socially isolated right now, we can still be connected through mediums like this. So we encourage you to reach out to us, visit us through our website, www.cair.com, subscribe to our email list, subscribe to our channel. And then more information is going to be coming to you through our CAIR website. It's going to be our CAIR platform. You can find it from our CAIR page. We're going to have expert analysis. We're going to have spiritual guidance, a variety of forums to provide information, and another way for us to interact. And we all want you to know that CAIR is still providing services. Yes, we're all, many of us are on lockdown. We're a large grassroots organization spread out all over America, but we're very much hard at work every day. So please continue to reach out to us. We are actively providing services for the community. So I'd like to introduce some of our guests tonight. I want to let you know, though, my co-host is coming, Edward Mitchell. He's in Atlanta, Georgia right now. He's the Deputy Director of CAIR. He's our new director. He's a little bit late because, mashallah, he's praying Maghrib. It comes a little bit later there. I'm in Maryland right now. I'm in my home. And so it's earlier here. So if you will excuse him, he'll come on a little bit later and we'll say hi to him. But first, I want to say hi to Mortaza Khwaja. He is the litigation director for CAIR Georgia. Hi, Mortaza. How are you doing?
Hi, Dinette. Assalamu alaikum. Dinette, and to everyone else. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. So you're the litigation director for CAIR Georgia, and we've heard that you had a very busy week.
Yes. So I'm the legal and policy director of CAIR Georgia. We've had quite a busy week this last week and a half, really. One, in dealing with this outbreak as everyone else has, but two, we've had a group of 15 students who were trapped in Peru under martial law.
Wow. Okay, 15 students trapped under martial law in Peru. And how did they find out about CAIR? How did they know that you all could help them?
So alhamdulillah, these students have heard about us through the work we've done in the past. They know that we've been able to get people who are detained outside or who are unable to get back to the country by coordinating with the American government and foreign governments. They've known about our work and they contacted us last Wednesday night.
So you had 15 Americans trapped in Peru. And what were they doing in Peru?
So these 15 students were
spring breaking, or like what was going on? Partying?
They weren't partying. So these 15 students were actually medical students in various medical fields. Most of them were in PA schools. They were studying and on their clinical rotations where they're actually helping treat and give care to women who were suffering from various forms of cancer. This was not a recreational trip. They were here on clinical rotations to serve underserved populations in Peru.
So it sounds like we need them here, right? We have a lot of understaffed hospitals right now. We have a crisis going on in America. So you're faced with a situation. They want to get home. They're prevented from doing so. What were you thinking?
So it was really a tough situation to navigate because the Peruvian government gave them 24-hour notice to leave the country before borders, land, sea, and air would be closed.
Wow.
They contacted us 24 hours after the borders had already been closed. So we're coming into the situation already at a disadvantage. Seeing this, we knew we had to act immediately. We wrote out letters to both Georgia senators, to the consular agent in Cusco, Peru, to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and President Trump, as well as putting out a press release and contacting local and national media to get publicity going on this very important story. And these students, these young ladies did an incredible job of self-advocating, both on social media and by giving interviews to a variety of local and national media. They really did the best job of advocating for themselves.
MashaAllah. So they reached out to CAIR. CAIR got them connected. You started lobbying your public representatives, it sounds like. And then you connected them to media sources so that they could start, sending out also the SOS and getting some attention on this case. And then what happened?
And then we found that we were getting pushback. So other countries, namely Israel and Mexico, were able to coordinate with the Peruvian government to return their citizens home. They were able to do this because the governments put in private requests to the Peruvian government, which the US Department of State has on record that it does not do just based on policy. If one of their citizens is abroad and stuck, their policy is that citizen has to figure out privately and not through the government on how to get back. So we were really in a tough position here. We felt that the pressure we were able to put on through various representatives. I want to give a shout out to Representative Ingalls and Representative Woodall's office and their staffs for working tirelessly, pushing this out to the State Department and giving us really the best chance to get these young ladies back efficiently and safely. We did also connect them with media, and the media was very helpful in continuing this pressure. Once the universities received word of this, they were able to actually offer the chartered flight to the girls, to the young ladies, and wanted to bring them home. The Peruvian government said this request for a chartered flight would have to be made through the US government, and that was just not their policy. So we were really trying to lobby the US government to change their policy and to make an exception in this case to return these young ladies who we definitely need back home.
Wow. So you're in a bureaucratic nightmare, it sounds like. Yeah. You want to just grab them and bring them over. How do you navigate that kind of bureaucracy and make the system work?
So what helps is we have an incredible CAIR network from CAIR, all the CAIR offices and CAIR chapters to CAIR National at our disposal. A lot of us, including myself, have navigated some of these areas before, and we're able to sort of mobilize the actors that have helped us in the past. We have very strong relationships with representatives throughout the country. We have very strong relationships with local and national media. And when we're able to mobilize them and use our personal relationships, we were able to achieve a very positive outcome. But it really took a village to get these young women back home, both in their own advocacy, their families' efforts, the media, the representatives I mentioned earlier, the Department of State, and the community as a whole.
So it sounds like knowing about the law, knowing how to navigate it, knowing how to navigate the system, knowing who to be in touch with, really made a tremendous difference in this case. And I really want to know, so have you talked to the students since they came home?
Yes, so CAIR Georgia was there to greet them at Hartsfield. There is a shelter in place warning for Atlanta that's been put in by the mayor of Atlanta that does not apply to legal work or to the media. So I was able to go there and greet these young ladies as they arrived.
Wow.
And it was incredibly fulfilling to see them, to see their faces. They were hugging each other. We were able to coordinate a couple of media requests at the time, obviously quickly, because the most that these ladies wanted to do was to get back home safely and rest.
And their parents are probably very grateful. I can imagine. I have an 18-year-old son. If he got stuck over somewhere, I would just want to get him back. I would be so grateful. So I'm sure they were just, ecstatic. And it's great that you got to see. Sometimes the gratification of the hard work that we do is delayed. We work on cases sometimes and they can take years sometimes. We're invested in them. The community's contribution, allows us to make that investment. And you got that kind of immediate, gratification, go to the airport and actually see it. And I know you don't get to do that all the time. You work really hard at CAIR Georgia. So that is really, really great, mashallah. What was your biggest takeaway from this experience?
My biggest takeaway is the community and all those actors I mentioned earlier come together. It took a village to get these young ladies back. And in the midst of the greatest global pandemic of our times, it's this type of coordinated effort between communities, both local and national, and also international, that are really going to light the way for us to, inshallah, reach the end of this stronger than we came in.
MashaAllah. So we're socially isolated, but you're managing to get a lot of work done at CAIR despite the circumstances. So MashaAllah, may Allah, be with you all and continue allow you to have success, inshallah. And everybody should know to reach out to CAIR Georgia if you are a Georgia resident, if you have an issue. Mortaza is your guy, inshallah. Later, we're going to have the executive director come on. Let's move to Sabika Makhdoom. She's in
Danette,
yes.
Before you go, I've got to say hi to my former colleague, Mortaza Khwaja.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say, great job. I miss you guys, at the office, and you're doing great work. I'm so impressed with the success you and Abdullah and the team have had. And, keep it up, alhamdulillah. I'm very glad to see you guys succeeding in such great ways. Without me there, mashallah, it's wonderful. Alhamdulillah. I miss you all.
And how do you miss them? Where were you before you became the deputy director?
Oh yeah, so I'm not just like their buddy. I was the director of CAIR Georgia up until about a month ago. So, alhamdulillah, this is, I think, their first big case of this month. And so, I think it sounds somewhat similar to the case that Mortaza handled in the Muslim ban. He helped bring someone who was dying of eye cancer to the United States for treatment. And so I'm glad to hear that maybe some of those connections he made back then were helpful here. So just great work in the state of Georgia. Congratulations.
That's really great work. Okay, so we're going to go to Sabika Makhdoom. I didn't get a chance to, I was on mute when we started this program. So I'm Danette Sagari Mass, by the way. I'm a nonprofit attorney at CAIR, and I have the privilege of being able to host this show tonight. So really happy to be here. And I wanted to hear from Sabika. We tried to bring her on last night. We had some technical difficulties. So hopefully she's here and she'll appear soon. She grew up in the greater Seattle area. So she's in Washington. As we all know, that is one of the epicenters right now of COVID-19. Last night, we had guests on from New York City, as well as Los Angeles, two other heavily hit areas. And we want to hear about Sabika's experiences. She sits on the board of CAIR in Washington. She's a community leader. We want to hear from her. Are you there, Sabika?
Yes.
Yes. Finally, yes.
Everybody. From 5 miles from Kirkland, Washington.
Okay.
I grew up in Kirkland, so I was talking to Danette. I still go grocery shopping there, and my sister lives in Kirkland. It's been intense here in Washington, but people are definitely very positive and very concerned about each other.
Washington it's a Seattle area. I was there last year with you. I did board training out there. It was really nice. I've met you. I've hugged you. We spent time together. I remember it was lively. It's a busy place. So what is it like for the community, especially on days like this, on Friday, Jummah?
Fridays are hard. I usually take my parents to Jummah, and my dad is 78. He has Parkinson's, and he's definitely in the high risk category. And I think every Friday it's hard for him. Like, I had to say, Dad, did you go ahead and read Surah Al-Kahf? We're not going. There are no loopholes.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I think the positive thing is you get to see, in terms of the Muslim community, you get to see the love that people have for the faith, and it really warms me, makes me feel happy and hopeful for our future.
So we're remaining united. We're finding ways to connect to each other, and our worship is strong, inshallah, even though our circumstances are really extraordinary, mashallah. So I'm sure you'll be happy, inshallah, when we get that curve down. We hope that we do. We're making dua for you all, every day. What do you want everyone to know? What do you want to ask? What specific du'as, hopefully, of all of our viewers, do you want to ask for people in the community in Washington right now?
Oh, that's I have to think about that one. I think mostly for everybody's welfare, and that we come out of this stronger. I'm very optimistic that we're going to come out stronger. I'm seeing, not just in the Muslim community, but in the community in general, my neighbors, neighborhood groups, we're seeing what you call in business terms pivoting. People are changing careers, people are starting nonprofits. A friend of mine starting a nonprofit to help feed the people in the local community who don't, people who are relying on day-to-day income. So I'm seeing a lot of positive changes. I think it is difficult, but the silver lining, or the positive, is that I think we're resilient. Washingtonians, especially, and Americans in general, are resourceful, and we're looking for ways to help. I mean, people are sewing masks, people are delivering food. So I think I'm very hopeful, I'm very positive, and as you know, CAIR Washington is doing a lot of stuff too.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So we have a website, cairwashington.org/COVID.
Okay. Great.
So some of the things
CAIR.org.COVID.
/COVID.
/COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure our viewers get that.
Yes. So some of the things that we're doing through our website is resource assistance, like unemployment resources, food assistance, funeral and burial information. As you might know, one of the first casualties of COVID in Washington was actually a Muslim. So we've already been dealing with this. We're in talks with community leaders, dealing with not just mosque closures, just, you know, different things that are coming down the road for us and for the other communities. We have a hotline, which I think sets us apart. There are a lot of groups in the community doing relief work, have been doing it, but what CAIR Washington is doing uniquely is unifying a lot of those efforts through a hotline, so people can call. We can help troubleshoot issues that people are having in terms of applying for things. People can volunteer, offer financial support. So that's really nice. Masih has done a great job turning his team into this. Oh, Masih Fulani, the Executive CAIR Director.
Masih Fulani, he's the Executive Director at CAIR Washington. So he's coordinating a lot of this. Do you want to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know the hotline number off the top of your head? Or if they go to the website, they'll get it, right?
I don't, yeah, website.
Go to the website, they'll get it. So if you're Washingtonian, go ahead. Sorry.
I do want to say some of the other stuff that we're doing. So we're doing community building coalitions. We're informing community members of what resources they have. And I want people to know that we are still doing our job, not just for civil rights, but also legal implications of this new world that we're living in. So people are having trouble. For example, Washington has put a moratorium on rent evictions, and they are different depending on which city you live in. So if somebody is still having struggles with that, we at CAIR Washington are offering legal resources to people to be able to get past those.
So we're kind of branching out. We're recognizing that extraordinary circumstances need expanded services. So if I call the hotline, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Then can I ask, while we've got Mortis still here before he leaves, can we ask him, we talked about Peru, we didn't ask him how things are going in Georgia with coronavirus, what they're doing. Can we maybe grab Mortis quickly and ask him what's happening in Georgia? What are you all doing? How are you handling the virus? What's the status there? My understanding is the mayor has ordered some sort of lockdown. Governor Kemp has refused to take that similar step as far. What's going on there? You guys are doing similar things as CAIR Washington?
Well, you're on mute, Mortaza.
You're on mute. Very nice smile, but no words coming out.
And I want to say thank you. We miss you at the CAIR office as well, Edward. Thank you for the kind words. You know, it's reflective of your leadership and the work that you put in with us that we're able to continue this.
Alhamdulillah.
Absolutely. So we're not doing nearly enough in Georgia, unfortunately. We have 1,200 cases in Georgia, which is a 472% increase from last week. There are 56 deaths. Georgia has a history of having historically very low health records. We've been ranked 49th in healthcare access across the country. We have some of the highest incidences of diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, and strokes throughout the country. So we're already an underserved population, particularly in rural areas where we've seen hospitals close down. Despite all of this, Governor Kemp has up till now refused to put in a shelter-in-place order. He's been urged by the minority in the House, the Democrats in the House, State House, to issue this. He has as of yet refused to. It seems that he's valuing the potential dollars and the health of businesses over the health of the actual Georgia citizen.
How is CAIR Georgia sort of rising to this occasion? I mean, it's, you know, we just talked about all of the students in Peru that you served, and I know you're doing a lot of other things too. What kind of specific messages are you getting out? I mean, are you working on a plan really to focus on this particular need? Absolutely.
Our great executive director and our communications director have worked tirelessly in creating this Co-Victory 20 programming. One of the highlights of that is going to be these series of webinars, which shows what this pandemic has shown is that a lack of social services has exacerbated and has greatly diminished our capacity, Georgia's capacity, to effectively combat this pandemic. We don't have access to healthcare. We don't have access to affordable housing. We don't have access to childcare, affordable childcare. All of these issues we've sort of seen exacerbated in this crisis, as well as seeing how normalized practices like evictions, utility and water shutoffs, and incarceration for minor offenses are really unnecessary because we're not doing them now. So we're looking forward to doing a series of these along with community partners. We've got a great set of coalition partners here in Georgia that are doing some great civil rights work, and we're going to be working alongside with them on putting this content out to the community.
Mashallah. So that actually segues really well into our next topic, which is faith in crisis. This evening, we want to talk about balancing fear and hope. So we're going to move into our spirituality section. And I would really like for my co-host, Edward, to announce our next guest, because he also took Edward's last position, mashallah, as the executive director at CAIR Georgia.
Absolutely. So first, let me say thank you to Mortaza and Sabika for joining us from Washington, Atlanta. Please stay safe, be careful, and may Allah reunite us all very soon. Thank you for the work you're doing. Keep it up, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you
having
both
us.
for joining us. Assalamu alaikum. So with that, we're going to go to our next segment. So on Fridays, we want to do, it's the end of the week. We want to focus on spirituality. We want to focus on what we can learn about self-care and getting close to our Creator. And so on Friday nights, we want to have a special guest that can kind of focus on that topic with us. The great thing about our guest tonight is that he is both a spiritual leader and a community organizer, a man who runs a CAIR chapter, founded his own nonprofit organization, is a Hafiz of Quran, a trained imam. He is a jack of many trades and a master of many trades. And he is also the man who succeeded me as executive director of CAIR Georgia. Imam Abdullah Jabber is our special guest here tonight. Imam Abdullah, are you there?
I'm here, Brother
Wonderful.
Edward, but after all of that, I feel like leaving.
Yeah, did I raise the stakes too high for you? No,
as you always do.
Abdullah. So, when we brought on Abdullah Jabber as the new director of CAIR Georgia, we all said we're going to stop calling him Imam Abdullah because we want people to understand he is now Director Jabber running our CAIR chapter, using his experience as an organizer, a nonprofit manager, a public speaker, an interfaith dialogue expert. But because the topic tonight is spirituality, I get to call you Imam Abdullah Jabber once again. So Imam, please, let me start by asking you this.
That's fair.
Yes, exactly. So let me start by asking you this, Imam. In this time where people are afraid to go outside, stuck inside, may have relatives who are at risk because they're medical professionals on the front lines, may have people in their families or friends who they know who are sick. What spiritual needs do people have right now? Maybe in Atlanta, more broadly, what are you seeing out there from the community? What do people need right now to not, lose their minds in the situation we're going through?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I really appreciate Sister Danette and Brother Edward welcoming me and all of the other panelists that were here. And, to start answering that question, I think Brother Murtaza and the other respected sister who presented that, it shows the role CAIR plays for the greater Muslim community across the nation, and how we're able to pull together resources to bring, by the grace of Allah, some sort of calm to this chaos. And from a religious perspective, being Muslims, obviously our core goes back to our relationship with Allah, with God Almighty, and really grounding ourselves in faith. And I think at times like this, where there's so much uncertainty, yaqeen, or the idea of conviction in our relationship with God, is extremely important. So one of the things that we have seen across the nation, whether it's imams or organizations that are repeating over and over again, is that we have to turn inward. This is a chance for us to look inward. One of the things that I've shared with my family, with the community, is the common story of Moses. And that the idea is that at every step of life, you have variables that you can control, and then you have variables that you can't control. Usually anxiety sets in when we focus on the variables that we can't control. And more likely than not, we usually tend to focus on variables that we can't control. So whether it's our family or finances or car, whatever it is, we tend to be overwhelmed by focusing on variables that we can't control. And as Muslims, that's not our obligation. What Allah has obligated us to do is focus on things that you can control. What we can control is listen to the CDC, listen to what government is telling us to do, what health experts are telling us to do, what our religious leadership are telling us to do, what experts are telling us to do. That's what we can control. Beyond that, leave it to Allah. Beyond that, leave it to Allah. And I mentioned the story of Moses. I typically ask people this, you know, when you think Moses took the people from the grips of Pharaoh and he was headed, you know, do you think he didn't know that there was a body of water in front of him? He was very well aware of the geography of Egypt. He knew there was a body of water in front of him. He had gone to Midian, the city of Midian before that. So the question is, why would Moses lead his people toward a body of water knowing? Because when you have a relationship and when we work on building a relationship with God, with Allah, our conviction is not in knowing what Allah is going to do, but it's in knowing that Allah is going to do something. So he didn't know that God was going to split the sea for him, but he did know that God was going to do something for him. And that's, you know, the message that we're trying to kind of get out there, that know that we have our faith, we have Allah, and we have organizations, alhamdulillah, within our community, such as CAIR, that are the front line, the vanguard for our community, alhamdulillah.
Inshallah. How can we find balance right now? That's a great, you know, point. We focus on the things that we cannot control. And, you know, we can relate our experiences. It's very powerful. Something I'm going to think about a lot this week. So as I go throughout my week, a lot of people are struggling right now to find that balance. You know, so in the crisis moments, you know, when the impact hits you, really, how do you center yourself and get to that balance place?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about balance, I mean, if a person, I mean, one thing that COVID-19 proved to us is that you won't find balance in the material realm. I think that's clear. One thing that it kind of echoed very well is the idea of being mindful. I mean, for me, and I've seen within my family, that one thing that we got from all of this chaos is we're mindful, whether it's touching that doorknob, getting in that car when somebody sneezes, we're very mindful of what's happening. Yeah. And as Muslims, I think you know, that's what faith is. That's what Islam is. Islam is about, it's about consciousness, being mindful of yourself, of the world around you. So I think, you know, as Muslims, we believe that every test is an opportunity for us to turn back, grow as individuals, grow as communities, and as we've seen with CAIR, grow as an organization. And that's what, you know, that's a step towards finding balance. And I kind of want to just share this verse where in Surah Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually tells us, God tells us, do you think that you'll enter the gardens of paradise without being tested like the people before you? They were tested, trialed to a point where they were shaken, when even the messenger himself, the prophet himself, along with the believers, cried out and said, Mata Nasrullah, when is the help of Allah going to come? Where is the help of Allah, right? So that was a prophet. So I think as Muslims, as we're going through this, the fact that we are saying, where is the help of Allah? Well, we're on the right path, because that verse tells us that at the time of need, if we're able to focus on God, if we're able to focus on Allah and take our faith seriously, that's the first step to finding that balance. Because beyond the material, there is God in whose control lays the dominion of the heavens and earth. And I think that's the first step for Muslims from a spiritual angle to find balance. And that's why relationship with God, our personal relationship with God, is so important.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Mom, you know, you speak of balance. I think one of the things that, you know, many of us struggled with when this outbreak broke out is the idea that we were going to have to shut down our masajid. You know, when you and I were in the office together, you know, we'd go and pray pretty much every day at our local mosque with other members of our staff. And, you know, I think it's, I'm sure, very hard for you, very hard for me, you know, to countenance the idea that we weren't going to be able to go to the mosque anymore. But our faith is a faith that also believes in science and listening to your leadership and protecting human life, right, as the priority, right? That's one of the five foundations of Sharia, is the protection of human life. So, you know, when you deal with community members who, you know, had to be convinced, look, we have to do this, and you're in a position as a leader of CAIR and as a faith leader, you know, how do you explain this to them? How did you explain to them the need to do this, and what should we, you know, tell our community about having to wait to be able to go back to the masajid? What do you tell them as we wait for these to open back up? And we don't know when it'll be. Yeah, I mean, Ramadan's coming up, and there'll be many people who are like, open it back up, but, you know, we can't risk human life. So how do you tackle that issue, Imam?
Yeah, I think so far, organizations like CAIR, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, and many other organizations played a key role in kind of educating our community, working with clergy, working with our imams and scholars throughout the nation, working with, leadership really throughout the nation of really educating our community. So far, the community has received it well. I mean, there is obviously a genuine sadness that we all feel that the doors of the masajid are closed, but it also allows us, as much feedback has come back from the community, to pray with our families, to, do jama'ah and congregation, to learn how to give a khutbah. So there has been a lot of positive that is coming out of this. And I think another thing that, we look at, I think Ibn Abbas said it the best, the cousin of the Prophet, he said, whenever you're faced with a calamity, you should first thank God. And the question is, why would we thank God in the face of calamity? Well, he said, well, there's 3 reasons why. A, it could have been worse, okay? It could have been worse. So you thank God because it could have been worse. So I think as a community, we're thankful to Allah because it could have been worse. Second, we thank Allah because it's a trial and tribulation in our worldly matter and not in our faith, because that is the greatest of trial. So that's the second reason. And the third reason we're thankful to Allah is because it's a trial of this world and not of the hereafter. And I think with that spirit, as Muslims, the communities are receiving this well, but this is arguably the first time we're seeing masajid being closed, or, Jumu'ah being canceled. So this is something that's very, very painful to the Muslim community. Coming from my background of working with masajid across the country, it is very difficult to, fathom what we're going through right now. Masajid is empty. But alhamdulillah, I think our community is coming to terms. We're recognizing that this is a test for Allah, but it's also an opportunity for us to connect to the core of our faith. And that is that at the end of the day, it is not the masajid necessarily, it is not organizations necessarily, but it is your personal relationship with God that counts at the end.
MashaAllah. That is a beautiful, beautiful message to wind us down on. I love what you said about learning to do the khutbah. I have an 18-year-old son, and he didn't know how to give a khutbah until this happened. And, his father's on the front line, so he's out there, he wasn't able. And so, it was an opportunity, for him to learn. And it really moved me as his mother to see him and think about, wow, that's the youth of now are the leaders of tomorrow. So it's a great opportunity. Beautiful story. Thank you.
Difficulty can come opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Imam Abdullah, and great work with the Peru case. I know public advocacy was a huge part of that win. So congratulations. Please keep up the great work. I'm so happy that you're down there doing this work. And as I said to Mortaza, I miss you and the entire staff. And inshallah, hopefully we'll be able to reunite soon. So
we miss you also.
See you soon,
but but I hope to see you sometime in the weekend because you still live down here, inshallah. So we hope to catch you soon. Thank you so much for having us. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
To everyone, thank you for joining us this evening for our second episode of COVID Conversations with CAIR. Very happy to announce that next week, Imam Suhaib Webb will be one of our guests, inshallah. So please check back for more updates about the exact timing. Again, we do this Monday through Friday, 8 p.m., inshallah. Check our CAIR page for the live stream. And if you have any questions, you can post those in the comments during the program, or you can send those to us through the CAIR website later, and we can consider perhaps topics that you want us to address. And I want to say a special thank you to Danette for holding down the fort while I was running a little bit late praying. She did a great job. I think you can do this by yourself, Danette. I can just kind of come on and watch and enjoy.
I didn't give my name, so you know what? That I'm in front of the Prophet. So
well, you did well. The part that I saw was great. So I'll let you close.
One more thing, if you have any questions, again, if we're not addressing something and you want to know, again, we're going to be running an experts column. So ask us a question. If we don't know, inshallah, we'll go research, we'll find the answer and get it to you. So until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.